The bridge of the human ship Taekwondo was quiet, except for the soft hum of computers. Captain Dongwoo Kim sat in his chair, looking out at the stars through the main window. The year was 2387, and humans had been part of the big galaxy community for 20 years now, but they still felt like outsiders. "Captain," said Lieutenant Haewon Park from her station. She was the ship's communication officer, a young woman with sharp eyes who never missed anything. "I'm getting something strange on the emergency channels." Kim turned to look at her. "What kind of strange?" Park touched her earpiece and frowned. "It's a distress call, but it's coming from the Vega Nebula." "That's impossible. No one goes there." Everyone on the bridge knew about the Vega Nebula. It was a place filled with deadly radiation that could kill any known life form in minutes. Even the toughest aliens stayed far away from it. "Let me hear." "It," Kim said. Park pressed a button, and a voice filled the bridge. It sounded scared and desperate. The words came through their translation system in broken English. "Please, anyone. We are dying. The Ravak come for us. Our world burned and we have no weapons. Please help." The message repeated over and over. Kim felt his stomach tighten. Someone was in terrible trouble. "Who are they?" asked Engineer Bo-Ra Choi. She was a small woman with oil-stained hands who could fix anything on the ship. Park worked at her station. "The signal shows they're called Kelani. They live on a planet called Kristara in the Vega system." "Kelani?" said Medical Officer Tae-hyun Lee. He was an older man who had served in Earth's wars before joining the space fleet. "I know that name. They're traitors. Peaceful people. They look like living crystals." "What's a Ravak?" asked Tactical Officer Ji-ho Yoon. He was the youngest officer on the bridge, but he knew more about weapons and fighting than anyone else. Lee's face went pale. "Bad news. The Ravak are a hive mind. They're like space bugs that eat entire worlds." "I thought they were just stories." Kim stood up and walked to Park's station. "Send this message to Federation Command right now. They need to know." Park's fingers flew over her controls. Within minutes, a reply came back. The voice of Admiral Chen, head of Federation Command, sounded cold and uncaring. "Message received. Response: negative. The Vega Nebula is a no-travel zone. Radiation levels are fatal to all known life forms. Continue your current patrol route. Do not investigate." The bridge went silent. Kim felt anger rising in his chest. "Sir," Park said quietly, "I'm reading 17 other Federation ships received this same distress call." "And?" Kim asked. "None of them are responding either." Kim closed his eyes for a moment. He thought about the scared voice on the radio. Someone was dying out there, and everyone was just ignoring them. "Call a meeting," he said. "Senior officers only. Conference room in 10 minutes. The conference room was small and simple. Kim sat at the head of the table while his 4 senior officers took their seats. The distress call still played softly from the speakers. "You all heard the Admiral?" Kim said. "We're supposed to ignore this." "The radiation would kill us," said Choi. "The Federation isn't wrong about that." "Would it, though?" asked Lee. He looked thoughtful. "Think about it. We're humans. We come from Earth." "So?" asked Yoon. "Earth is what the galaxy calls a death world," Lee explained. "Our planet tried to kill us every day for millions of years. Radiation, poison, predators, diseases, weather that could freeze or burn us. We survived all of that." Choi leaned forward. "You think we might be able to handle the nebula?" "Maybe," Lee said. "Our bodies are tougher than other aliens. We heal faster. We can survive things that would kill them." Kim looked around the table. "Even if we could survive it, this would be against direct orders. We could all lose our jobs. Worse, we could die trying." Park spoke up. "Captain, I've been listening to alien radio traffic. 17 different species got this call for help. The Kalani sent it to everyone they could reach, and every single ship is flying away." "They're writing off an entire civilization," Yoon said angrily, "just because it's dangerous." "That's what makes us different," Kim said slowly. "Other species run from danger. Humans run toward it when someone needs help." He stood up and walked to the window. Outside, the stars looked cold and distant. "My father fought in the water wars on Earth," he said. "He told me something once. He said the mark of a good person isn't what they do when it's safe. It's what they do and it's dangerous, but right. Choi drummed her fingers on the table. I could boost our radiation shielding, make some modifications to the engines. It wouldn't be perfect, but it might work. I could prepare medical supplies. For radiation exposure, Lee added, and treatments for unknown alien biology. The ship's weapons are old, but they work, Yoon said. If we're going to fight space bugs, we'll need every advantage. Park looked at her tablet. I can keep monitoring their signals, try to learn more about what we're facing. Kim turned back to his officers. These people had followed him through 3 years of patrol duty on the galaxy's edge. They were more than his crew. They were his family. I'm not going to order anyone to do this, he said. This is volunteer only. If you want to stay behind, no one will think less of you. I'm in, said Choi immediately. Me too, said Lee. Count me in, Captain, said Yoon. Someone has to answer their call, Park said simply. Kim felt a warmth in his chest. This was why he loved his crew. Aria, he called to the ship's computer. Calculate our chances of survival if we enter the Vega Nebula. The computer's calm voice answered. Based on available data, survival probability is 23%. The room was quiet for a moment. Those aren't good odds, Choi said. No, Kim agreed. But they're not zero either. He looked at each of his officers. We're about to do something the galaxy says is impossible. We're going to fly into hell to save people we've never met. People who every other species has abandoned. Park smiled. Sounds like a typical Tuesday for humans. Kim laughed despite the situation. All right then. Let's show the galaxy what Deathworlders can do. Choi, start those modifications. Lee, prep the medical bay. Yoon, check our weapons. Park, keep listening to their signals. As his officers left the room, Kim stayed behind for a moment. He looked out at the stars and thought about the scared voice on the radio. Somewhere out there, people were dying while everyone else looked the other way. Not today, he said quietly. Not on my watch. The Taekwondo changed course, turning toward the deadly Vega Nebula. For the first time in galactic history, someone was answering the Kalani's call for help, and that someone was human. Behind them, 17 other ships continued flying away, leaving the distant cries for help to echo unanswered in the void. But ahead, in the radiation-soaked darkness of the nebula, a small human ship pushed forward into the unknown. The galaxy was about to learn what humans meant when they said, "No one left behind." The next 48 hours were the busiest the Taekwondo had ever seen. Engineer Bo-Ra Choi had not slept since they changed course toward the Vega Nebula. Her small hands moved quickly over control panels as she worked to save their lives. Pass. Me that plasma coupling, she called to her assistant. Sweat dripped down her face as she crawled inside the ship's radiation shielding system. If this doesn't work, we'll be dead in 5 minutes after we enter that nebula. Dr. Tae-Hyun Lee was in the medical bay, preparing for things no human doctor had ever faced before. He filled cabinet after cabinet with radiation medicine and burn treatments. His hands shook slightly as he worked. He had seen combat wounds before, but this was different. This was unknown. Aria, he called to the ship's computer. Show me everything we know about Kalani biology. Images appeared on his screen. The Kalani looked like people made of living crystal. Their bodies were clear and beautiful, with light moving inside them like trapped rainbows. They don't have blood like us, Arya explained. Their life force flows through crystal pathways. If these pathways break, they die. Lee studied the images carefully. How do you perform surgery on a being made of crystal? How do you stop bleeding when there's no blood? These were questions no human had ever needed to answer. On the bridge, Tactical Officer Jiho Yoon was checking their weapons for the 10th time. The Taekwondo was not a warship. It was a patrol vessel with basic defenses. Against something called the Ravak Swarm, they would be badly outgunned. Captain, Yoon said to Kim, our plasma cannons work fine, but we only have enough energy for maybe 30 shots. After that, we're defenseless. Kim nodded grimly. What about the missile tubes? 12 missiles total. They're designed to stop pirates, not alien swarms. Lieutenant Haewon Park looked up from her communication station. I'm still receiving distress signals from the Kalani, but they're getting weaker. I think many of them are already dead. The bridge fell, silent. Every hour they spent preparing was another hour the Kalani suffered. "How long until we reach the nebula?" Kim asked. 6 hours at maximum speed, Arya replied. Kim walked to the main window. In the distance, he could see a faint purple glow. The Vega Nebula looked beautiful from far away, like a cosmic flower blooming in space. But he knew it was a death trap. "Captain," Park said suddenly, "I'm getting a transmission from Federation Command." "Put it through." Admiral Chen's angry voice filled the bridge. "Captain Kim, satellite tracking shows you have changed course toward the Vega Nebula. You will turn around immediately and return to patrol duty." Kim was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "Admiral, people are dying. We can't just ignore them." "You can and you will. That's an order. The Vega Nebula is forbidden for good reasons. No ship has ever returned from there." "Then we'll be the first," Kim said simply. "Captain, if you continue on this course, you will. Be court-martialed when you return. Your career will be over." Kim looked around at his crew. They were all watching him, waiting for his decision. "Admiral, some things are more important than careers," he said. "We're humans. We help people who need help. That's what we do." The transmission ended abruptly. Kim knew he had just ended his military career, but he didn't care. "Sir," Park said quietly, "I'm detecting other ships nearby. Federation vessels." On the main screen, 3 sleek alien ships appeared. They were fast and powerful, much more advanced than the Taekwondo. "They're following us," Yoon observed. "Why?" Kim's expression was grim. "They want to watch us die. When we fail, they can report back that they were right to ignore the distress call." The hours passed slowly. Choi finished her modifications to the radiation shielding. Lee completed his medical preparations. Yoon loaded their weapons and ran final system checks. Park kept listening to the fading Kalani distress signals. Finally, they reached the edge of the Vega Nebula. "All stop," Kim ordered. The Taekwondo hung motionless before a wall of purple and gold energy. It was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. Lightning crackled through clouds of cosmic dust. Radiation readings were off the charts. Arya, final. "Analysis," Kim commanded. "Radiation levels are indeed fatal to all known Federation species," the computer replied. "However, human tolerance for radiation is significantly higher due to Earth's harsh environment. With current shielding modifications, human survival is possible for limited periods." Kim took a deep breath. "All hands, this is the captain. We're about to do something no one has ever done before. We're going into the Vega Nebula to help people who need us. It's dangerous, but that's never stopped humans before. Hold on tight." The Taekwondo moved forward into the purple wall of energy. Immediately, alarms began blaring. Radiation warnings flashed on every screen. The ship shook as waves of cosmic energy hit them. "Shielding holding," Choi reported. "But we can't stay here long." "How long?" Kim asked. "Maybe 2 hours before it starts affecting us. 4 hours before. We're in real danger." They flew deeper into the nebula. Strange sights surrounded them. Clouds of glowing gas twisted like living things. Bolts of lightning bigger than cities crackled between cosmic dust clouds. It was like flying through the inside of a star. "Captain," Park called excitedly, "I'm getting a much stronger signal. There's a ship nearby." On the screen, they saw a vessel unlike anything in Federation records. It looked like it was made of crystal, with smooth, curved lines and surfaces that reflected the nebula's light. But it was damaged, with cracks running along its hull. "That's a Kalani ship," Lee said in wonder. Kim opened communication channels. "This is Captain Kim of the human ship Taekwondo. We received your distress call. Do you need assistance?" For a moment, there was silence. Then a voice spoke, filled with amazement and hope. "Humans? You came? But this is impossible. The death clouds will kill you." "The death clouds can't kill us," Kim replied. "We're from Earth. We're tougher than we look." The Kalani ship moved closer. Through the crystal walls, they could see the beings inside. They were tall and graceful, their bodies made of living crystal that sparkled with inner light. But many of them looked cracked and damaged. "I am Gelmar, elder of this vessel," the voice said. "We cannot believe you are here. No one answered our calls. We thought we would die alone." No one dies alone while humans are around, Kim said firmly. What's your situation? The crystal being's voice became sad and scared. The Ravak found our worlds. They consumed 3 colonies already. Now they come for our home, Kristara. We have no weapons, no way to fight. We are a peaceful people. Tell us about these Ravak, Kim said. Images appeared on their screen and the human crew gasped in horror. The Ravak were like giant space insects but made of living metal and flesh. They moved in massive swarms, millions of them darkening entire star systems. Wherever they went, they consumed everything, leaving only empty space behind. How many? Yoon asked quietly. Billions, Gelmar replied. They cover the space around our home like a dark cloud. Their bioships eat planets. They turn living beings into more of themselves. Kim felt cold fear in his stomach, but he pushed it away. We're here to help. Can you guide us to your homeworld? You would do this, even knowing you will die? Kim looked around at his crew. Each of them nodded back at him. Humans don't abandon people who need help, he said. That's just who we are. As their 2 ships flew deeper into the nebula together, the 3 Federation vessels that had followed them held back at the nebula's edge. On their bridges, alien officers watched in amazement as the human ship did something they all thought was impossible. They actually went in, said Commander Sujin Bei on the Federation cruiser Harmony. She was half human herself, but had always tried to fit in with the more civilized species. They'll be dead within hours, her alien first officer replied. Deathworlders always think they're stronger than they are. But Bei wasn't so sure. She had heard stories about humans, about the impossible things they could survive. Maybe, just maybe, they were about to witness something extraordinary. In the nebula, the Taekwondo and the Kalani refugee ship flew toward a destiny none of them could imagine. Behind them, 3 Federation ships waited to see if the humans were. As tough as they claimed to be, the galaxy was about to learn that when humans make a promise, they keep it, even if it kills them. The planet Kristara was the most beautiful thing Captain Dongwoo Kim had ever seen. As the Taekwondo broke through the nebula's inner edge, the Kalani homeworld appeared before them like a jewel floating in space. Cities made of living crystal reached up toward the sky like frozen music. The buildings sang with soft, harmonic sounds that could be heard even through the ship's hull. It's incredible, whispered engineer Bo-Ra Choi, staring at the main screen. The whole planet is like one giant crystal. Dr. Tae-hyun Lee watched the Kalani refugee ship they were escorting. Look at them, he said softly. Even damaged and scared, they're still beautiful. But the beauty was broken by horror at the system's edge. A dark mass moved between the stars, blotting out their light. The Ravak swarm had arrived. Lieutenant. Haewon Park's hands flew over her instruments. Captain, I'm reading millions of bioships. They're bigger than anything in our databases. Some of them are the size of small moons. Tactical Officer Ji-ho Yoon studied the enemy formation. They're not attacking yet. They're surrounding the planet, like they're getting ready to feed. The Kalani elder Gelmar's voice came through the communication system, filled with despair. We are too late. The swarm has found us. Soon, there will be no more Kalani in the universe. Kim felt anger burning in his chest. Not if we have anything to say about it. Gelmar, we need to land on your planet. We need to meet with your leaders. You wish to die on our world rather than in space. We wish to fight, Kim said simply. An hour later, the Taekwondo sat on a crystal landing pad in the capital city of Kristara. Kim and his senior officers walked down the loading ramp wearing environmental suits. The planet's atmosphere was safe for humans, but they didn't know what other dangers might exist. The Kalani who met them were unlike anything they had ever imagined. Tall and graceful, their crystal bodies caught the light and threw rainbows everywhere. When they moved, they made soft chiming sounds like wind through glass tubes, but many of them showed cracks and damage from stress and fear. Welcome, humans, from the death world Earth, said a tall Kalani with silver light flowing through her crystal body. I am Shaivel, leader of our people. We have heard stories of your kind, but we never believed them to be true. What stories? Asked Dr. Lee. That there exists a world so deadly that it breeds warriors who can survive anything. That these warriors come from a place of constant death, where the very air and water try to kill all life. We thought such tales were myths. Kim looked around, at the Crystal City. Everything was perfect and peaceful. There were no weapons, no defenses, no signs of any conflict ever happening here. These people had never known war. "Your world is paradise," he said, "but paradise doesn't prepare you for predators." Chevelle's crystal body dimmed with sadness. "We have never needed to fight. For 10,000 years, we have known only peace. We trade with other species, we create beautiful things, we sing the crystal songs of our ancestors. We have no weapons except tools for mining and building." "Then we'll have to teach you," said Tactical Officer Yoon. "Fast." The Kalani leaders brought the humans to their main council chamber, a vast crystal dome that amplified every sound into beautiful music. But today, the music was broken by fear. "Show us what we're facing," Kim requested. Images appeared in the crystal walls around them. The Ravak swarm covered half the sky, a writhing mass of bioships that looked like giant insects crossed with spaceships. They pulsed with their own dark light. And where their smaller ships touched asteroids or space debris, the matter simply disappeared, consumed and absorbed. "They work as one mind," Gelmar explained. "Billions of individual creatures. But they all think together. They find a world with life, they surround it, and then they eat everything. When they are done, they move to the next system." Engineer Choi studied the images with professional interest. "The bioships are grown, not built. They're alive. That means they have weaknesses that regular ships don't have." "What do you mean?" asked Chevelle. "Living things get sick. They can be poisoned. They need specific things to survive." Choi's eyes gleamed with possibility. "Your planet is made of crystal. Crystal can create sound frequencies. What if we could make your whole world into a weapon?" The Kalani looked shocked. "Turn our peaceful home into an instrument of war?" "Turn your peaceful home into an instrument of survival," Kim corrected. "Sometimes war comes to you whether you want it or not." Dr. Lee had been studying the Kalani physiology data on his tablet. "You mentioned crystal songs. How do they work?" Chevelle extended a crystal hand, and the chamber filled with the most beautiful sound the humans had ever heard. It was like listening to starlight turned into music, pure and clear and perfect. "Our bodies resonate with the crystal formations of our world," she explained. "We can create harmonics that travel through the planet's core and emerge anywhere on the surface." "What's the range?" asked Lieutenant Park excitedly. "If enough of us sing together, the harmonics can reach into orbit." Park and Choi exchanged looks. "Captain," Park said, "if we could modulate those frequencies, we might be able to disrupt the Ravak hive mind." "How?" Kim asked. "All hive minds need some kind of coordination signal," Choi explained. "Something that lets all those individual creatures work together. If we could jam that signal, they would lose their coordination." Yoon finished. "They'd be just individual animals instead of an organized army." Chevelle and the other Kalani looked uncomfortable. "You ask us to use our sacred songs as weapons." "We're asking you to use them to save your people," Kim said gently. "Sometimes, survival requires doing things we never thought we'd have to do." A younger Kalani named Tor Wei stepped forward. His crystal body was clear blue with streaks of gold. "I will learn. Teach us how to fight, humans from the death world." More young Kalani joined him. Soon, dozens of crystal beings stood ready to learn warfare from the humans who had answered their call. Over the next few hours, the humans worked frantically to organize a defense. Dr. Lee showed Kalani volunteers how to treat combat injuries, teaching them about trauma medicine that their peaceful species had never needed to develop. The crystal beings were horrified to learn about internal bleeding, broken bones, and shock, but they learned quickly. Engineer Choi worked with Kalani technicians to modify their mining equipment into crude weapons. Crystal cutting tools became improvised laser cannons. Industrial haulers became missile platforms. It wasn't pretty, but it would have to work. Tactical Officer Yoon taught basic combat strategy to beings who had never even seen a fist fight. The concepts of flanking, cover, and tactical retreat were completely foreign to them, but they studied with desperate intensity. Lieutenant Park worked with the Kalani singers to test their harmonic abilities. Together, they began to understand how the planet-wide crystal network could be used to create specific frequencies that might disrupt the Ravak coordination signals. As they worked, the Ravak swarm slowly moved closer to Crystera. The bioships were in no hurry. They had surrounded the system completely. There was nowhere for their prey to run. "Captain," Park reported, "the swarm will be in attack position in 18 hours. Kim looked around at the frantic preparations. Peaceful beings learning to be soldiers, beautiful crystal cities being turned into fortresses, sacred songs being modified into weapons of war. It was heartbreaking and inspiring at the same time. 18 hours to turn a civilization of artists into warriors," he said quietly. "It's not enough time." "It's the time we have," said Chevelle, approaching them. Her crystal body now had streaks of determined silver running through it. "Humans from the Death World, you have given us something we never had before." "What's that?" Kim asked. "Hope. For the first time since the swarm appeared, we believe we might survive. Not because we are strong, but because you are strong, and you chose to stand with us." Kim felt the weight of responsibility on his shoulders. One small human ship against billions of alien monsters, a few dozen humans trying to save an entire civilization. The odds were impossible, but humans had beaten impossible odds before. "All right, everyone," he called to his crew. "We've got 18 hours to save a world. Let's get to work." As the sun set over the crystal cities of Crystara, humans and Kalani worked side by side, preparing for a battle that would decide the fate of an entire species. Above them, the dark mass of the Ravak swarm crept closer, blotting out more stars with each passing hour. The galaxy was about to witness something it had never seen before. Deathworlders fighting not for conquest or glory, but simply because it was the right thing to do. The attack began at dawn. Captain Dongwoo Kim stood on the crystal observation deck of Crystera's capital city, watching the Ravak swarm descend from the heavens like a black plague. Millions of bioships moved as one, their living hulls pulsing, with dark energy as they prepared to feed on an entire world. "They're beautiful in a terrible way," said Lieutenant Haywan Park, standing beside him. Her communication equipment was built into the crystal walls around them, connecting her to every Kalani singer on the planet. "Beautiful things can be deadly," Kim replied, thinking of his homeworld Earth. "That's something humans learned long ago." The first wave of Ravak scouts entered the planet's atmosphere. They were smaller than the main fleet, only the size of fighter jets, but they moved with perfect coordination. As they dove toward the crystal cities, the air itself seemed to scream with their alien hunger. "Now!" Kim shouted. Lieutenant Park activated the planet-wide communication network. "All Kalani singers, begin the harmony disruption on my mark. 3, 2, 1, mark." Across Crystera, thousands of crystal beings began to sing. But this was not their traditional music of peace and beauty. This was a weapon song, designed by engineer Bo-Ra Choi and the human crew to create specific frequencies that would jam the Ravak hive mind. The effect was immediate and stunning. The perfectly coordinated scout ships suddenly began flying erratically. Some crashed into each other. Others spun out of control and smashed into the crystal formations below. The ones that survived seemed confused, flying in random circles as if they had forgotten their purpose. "It's working!" cried Torway, the young Kalani who had volunteered to help. His blue crystal body now had streaks of fierce gold running through it. "The harmony is breaking their connection." But their celebration was short-lived. From orbit, the main Ravak fleet began to adapt. The larger bioships changed their formation, spreading out to reduce the effect of the harmonic disruption. And they began to descend. Tactical Officer Jiho Yoon coordinated the ground defenses from his position in the Taekwondo. The human ship had been modified with crystal technology, its weapons now powered by the planet's harmonic energy. "Enemy fleet breaking through the upper atmosphere," he reported. "The big ones are too far apart. The harmony isn't affecting them as much." Dr. Tae-hyun Lee worked frantically in the medical stations they had set up throughout the city. The first casualties were coming in. Kalani beings with cracks in their crystal bodies from the stress of combat. His human medical knowledge was being pushed to its limits as he learned to treat injuries in living crystal. "We need more time," he called to Kim through the communication system. "The Kalani can't maintain the harmony song forever. It's damaging their bodies." Kim watched as massive bioships, each one larger than a city, began their descent toward the planet's surface. Where they touched down, the ground itself began to be consumed, absorbed into their living hulls. "Choi," he called. To his engineer, "What's the status on our special modification?" Engineer Choi's voice came back strained but determined. "Almost ready, Captain. But you know what this means. If we do this, there's no going back." Kim closed his eyes for a moment. The modification Choi had been working on would turn the Taekwondo into a massive bomb, powered by their ship's reactor and enhanced by Kalani crystal technology. It would create a harmonic explosion that could disrupt the Ravak hive mind across the entire system. But it would also destroy the ship and everyone on it. "Sir," Park said softly, "I'm detecting ships approaching from outside the system." Kim opened his eyes. On the tactical display, 3 Federation vessels were entering the Vega Nebula, the same ships that had followed them, expecting to watch them die. "The Federation fleet is moving to our position," Park reported. "They're trying to communicate." "Put them through." Commander Sujin Bei's voice filled the crystal chamber. She sounded amazed and confused. "Captain Kim, this is impossible. You shouldn't be able to survive in there, let alone fight a battle." "We're humans, Commander," Kim replied simply. "We do impossible things. Our sensors show you're actually disrupting the Ravak coordination." "How?" Kim looked around at the Kalani singers, their crystal bodies glowing with effort as they maintained the harmony that was keeping them all alive. "We learned something the Federation never understood. Sometimes the best weapons are made by turning instruments of peace into tools of survival." "Captain, we're prepared to assist," Bei said, and Kim could hear the wonder in her voice. "The Federation Council has authorized emergency intervention." "Now?" Kim laughed bitterly. "After we've done the impossible part, now you show up?" But there was no time for argument. The largest Ravak bioship, a creature the size of a mountain, had landed in the center of the capital city. Its tendrils were already reaching out, consuming crystal buildings and absorbing them into its mass. "All ground teams, fall back," Kim ordered. "Yoon, prepare the Taekwondo for the final run." "Sir," Yoon replied. "The ship is ready for ramming. Speed." "But the crew?" "The crew has escape pods," Kim said. Engineer Choi made sure of that. Kim turned to Shivel, the Kalani leader. Her crystal body was cracked with exhaustion from coordinating the planet-wide harmony, but she still stood tall and proud. "Your people need to stop singing and get to safety," he told her. "We're going to ram our ship into the center of their fleet. The explosion should disrupt their hive mind permanently." "You would sacrifice your ship to save our world?" she asked in amazement. "That's what friends do," Kim said simply. The Taekwondo lifted off from the crystal landing pad for the last time. Kim and his crew were in the escape pods, but they would guide the ship remotely for as long as possible. As the human vessel climbed toward the heart of the Ravak fleet, the 3 Federation ships finally entered the battle. Commander Bei had never seen anything like what the humans were doing. They fought with a ferocity and creativity that defied everything she had learned about civilized warfare. "All Federation vessels," she broadcast, "target the large bioships. Support the human attack run." The Taekwondo flew straight into the center of the Ravak formation. The bioships swarmed around it like angry hornets, but the little human vessel kept flying. Its hull was scarred and burning, its shields were failing, but it pressed on toward the massive command organism at the heart of the fleet. "Escape pods. Launching," Park reported from her pod. "The ship's on automatic now." Kim watched his ship, his home for 3 years, fly toward certain destruction. It was loaded with every explosive they had, enhanced with Kalani crystal resonators that would amplify the blast across harmonic frequencies. The Taekwondo struck the Ravak command ship at full speed. The explosion was like nothing the galaxy had ever seen. A sphere of harmonic energy expanded outward from the impact point, carried by the planet's crystal formations and amplified by the dying songs of the human ship's computers. The wave washed over the entire Ravak fleet in seconds. Instantly, millions of bioships stopped moving in coordination. The hive mind was broken, shattered by frequencies it had never encountered before. Individual Ravak creatures began attacking, each other confused and angry without their collective intelligence to guide them. The battle turned into a rout. Federation ships picked off the confused bio-ships while they fought among themselves. Many of the Ravak vessels simply fled, no longer able to function as a unified force. Kim's escape pod landed in a crystal garden outside the capital city. He climbed out to see his crew emerging from their own pods, all of them alive but shaken. Above them, the sky was clearing as the Ravak fleet scattered to the winds. Shivel and a group of Kalani approached them, their crystal bodies ringing with joy and gratitude. "You have saved our world," the Kalani leader said. "You have saved our entire species. How can we ever repay such a gift?" Kim looked around at his crew, then back at the crystal beings they had fought so hard to protect. "You can remember," he said. "Remember that when someone calls for help, someone should answer. And maybe next time you won't have to call so many times before someone comes." Commander Bay's ship landed nearby, and she walked over to where the humans stood. She was half human herself, but she had spent her career trying to fit in with the more civilized Federation species. Now she looked at Kim and his crew with new understanding. "Captain," she said formally, "on behalf of the Federation Council, I apologize for our initial response to the Kalani distress call. Your actions today have saved not just one species, but shown us something we had forgotten." "What's that?" Kim asked. "That civilization isn't about avoiding danger. It's about facing danger when others need your help." As the sun set over the crystal cities of Crystera, humans and Kalani worked together to repair the damage from the battle. The Federation ships remained to help with the cleanup, their crews amazed by what they had witnessed. Word of the battle was already spreading across the galaxy. The humans, the species dismissed as barely civilized Deathworlders, had done something no other Federation member had ever accomplished. They had answered a call for help that everyone else ignored, survived conditions that should have killed them, and defeated an enemy that was supposed to be unstoppable. 6 months after the Battle of Crystera, the galaxy was a different place. Captain Dongwoo Kim, now promoted to Admiral, stood on the bridge of the new Taekwondo, watching his mixed fleet of human and Kalani ships patrol the Outer Rim territories. The ship was a marvel of combined technology, built with human engineering and Kalani crystal science. "Admiral," called Commander Haewon Park from her station. She wore the uniform of the new Joint Defense Force, an organization that had grown from the alliance forged in battle. "We're receiving a transmission from Federation headquarters." Kim smiled. "Let me guess. Another species that needs our help with something impossible?" The past 6 months had been busy. Word of what the humans had done in the Vega Nebula had spread across the galaxy faster than light. Suddenly, species that had looked down on humans as primitive Deathworlders were asking for their help with problems that seemed unsolvable. "Actually, sir," Park said with a grin, "it's a thank you message. From the Vorthan Collective." Kim raised an eyebrow. The Vorthan were a proud warrior species who had never thanked anyone for anything. 3 months ago, they had been trapped in their home system by a solar storm that was destroying their planets. Every Federation scientist said it was impossible to stop, but engineer Bo-Ra Choi had figured out how to use the storm's own energy against itself, saving 12 billion. "Vorthan lives." "Things really have changed," Kim mused. Dr. Tae-hyun Lee entered the bridge carrying his daily report. He now ran the galaxy's first combat medical corps, teaching trauma surgery to species that had never needed such knowledge before. "How's the new class of students?" Kim asked. "Remarkable," Lee replied. "We have doctors from 30 different species learning human medical techniques. They're shocked by how much we know about treating severe injuries, but they're eager to learn." That was another change. Human medicine, developed on a world where everything tried to kill you, was revolutionizing galactic healthcare. Techniques that had been necessary for survival on Earth were saving lives across the galaxy. Tactical Officer Ji-Ho Yoon, now a full commander, looked up from his tactical display. "Admiral, I'm detecting something interesting on long-range sensors. It looks like a distress signal." Kim felt the familiar tightening in his stomach. "Where from?" "The Helix sector. That's supposed to be empty space." "Supposed to be and is are two different things," Kim said. "What kind of signal?" Park worked her controls expertly. Over the months, she had become the galaxy's leading expert on xenolinguistics, able to decode alien languages faster than any computer. "It's from a species called the Nenth," she reported. "They're trapped in what they call a void storm. Their message says, 'Oh my.'" "What?" "They say it's a phenomenon that devours light itself. Nothing can survive in it. They're asking for help, but they don't expect anyone to come." Commander Choi, now chief engineer of the Joint Defense Force, laughed from her station. "A void storm that eats light? Sounds like a Tuesday." Kim looked around at his crew, Human and Kalani, working side by side. Torway, the young Kalani who had first volunteered to learn warfare, was now his science officer. His crystal body bore the proud scars of battle, and his harmonics had been modified to interface directly with human technology. "Torway, what do our databases say about void storms?" The Kalani officer's body chimed softly as he accessed the information. "According to Federation records, void storms are classified as absolute hazards. No ship has ever returned from one. They're areas where space itself becomes unstable." "Sounds familiar," Kim said dryly. "How many ships are in our immediate area?" 12 human vessels, 8 Kalani crystal ships, and... "Admiral, we're being joined by Federation vessels. I count 6 ships from different species." On the main screen, ships from across the galaxy were converging on their position. Ever since Christhara, other species had started following human fleets, hoping to witness more impossible rescues. Commander Sujin Bei's face appeared on the communication screen. She had been promoted too, and now commanded her own task force, dedicated to supporting human rescue operations. "Admiral Kim," she said formally, but Kim could see the smile in her eyes. "I suppose you're not going to ignore this distress call either." "Would you?" Kim asked. 6 months ago, I would have, Bei admitted. "But I've learned some things about what it means to be human, even those of us who are only half human." Kim stood up and walked to the main window. In the distance, space itself seemed darker, as if something was swallowing the stars. "All ships, this is Admiral Kim," he broadcast on an open channel. "We have people in trouble who need our help. I know what the databases say about void storms. I know the odds are against us. But humans don't abandon people just because the odds are bad." Responses came back immediately from every ship in the fleet. Human voices, Kalani harmonics, and now voices from a dozen other species, all volunteers who had joined the Joint Defense Force. "Standing by to follow you into hell, Admiral," came the voice of Captain Minseo Jiang from the Soul's Pride. "The crystal ships are ready to sing the harmony of courage," chimed Shivel from the Kalani vessel Crystal Dawn. "Federation task force ready to support," reported Commander Bei. As the combined fleet moved toward the impossible void storm, Kim reflected on how much things had changed. 6 months ago, humans had been outsiders, dismissed as primitive Deathworlders by the civilized galaxy. Now they led a coalition of species who had learned that sometimes civilization meant running toward danger instead of away from it. The void storm loomed before them, a patch of space so dark it hurt to look at. It was like staring into the universe's shadow, a place where the normal rules didn't apply. "Admiral," reported Park, "I'm detecting the 9th ship inside the storm. They're alive, but barely. Their ship is being slowly dissolved by whatever's in there." "Time to get to work," Kim said. "All ships, follow us in. Remember, we've done impossible things before." The fleet entered the void storm together. Immediately, their instruments went haywire. The darkness around them seemed alive, pressing against their ships like a living thing. But human engineering, enhanced with Kalani crystal technology and supported by Federation science, held strong. "9th vessel located," reported Yoon. "They're, Admiral, they look like living shadows." On the screen, the alien ship appeared. It was beautiful in a haunting way, made of what looked like crystallized darkness. The beings inside were tall and graceful, their bodies seeming to be made of living night. "This is Admiral Kim of the Joint Defense Force," he broadcast. "We're here to get you out." The response came in a voice like whispered starlight. "Impossible. The void devours all light, all life. You cannot exist here." "We're humans," Kim said simply. "We exist wherever we need to. The rescue operation took 4 hours. Working together, human engineering and Kalani harmonics created a stable corridor through the void storm. Federation ships provided additional power and support, and slowly, carefully, they guided the 9th vessel to safety. As they emerged from the storm, the 9th ship glided alongside the new Taekwondo. The shadow beings inside stared in wonder at the creatures who had done the impossible once again. "How?" the 9th leader asked. "How do you survive what kills all other life?" Kim thought about his answer carefully. "We come from a world that tried to kill us every day. But we learned something important. Survival isn't about being the strongest or the smartest. It's about never giving up on each other." Word of the Void Storm rescue spread across the galaxy within days. The human-led Joint Defense Force was becoming a legend. The beings you called when everyone else said a situation was hopeless. But for Kim and his crew, it was just another day of doing what humans had always done, helping people who needed help, regardless of the cost or danger. A week later, as the fleet patrolled the frontier sectors, Park picked up another distress signal from an impossible location. Kim looked around at his bridge crew, human and alien working as one family. "Well," he said with a smile, "looks like someone else needs our help. Set course for the impossible." The mixed fleet of humans, Kalani, and Federation allies turned toward the distant signal, ready once again to prove that there was no such thing as a hopeless situation. Behind them, the void storm continued to rage, but for the first time in galactic history, it had been conquered. The galaxy had learned that when you combined human determination with alien wisdom, when you mixed Deathworld toughness with civilized knowledge, you got something new and wonderful: hope. And in a universe full of dangers and impossibilities, hope was the most powerful weapon of all. As the fleet disappeared into hyperspace, heading toward their next impossible rescue, one thing was certain. Whenever someone called for help, the Deathworlders would answer, because that's what humans do. That's what they had always done, and that's what they would always do, no matter how far the stars.